Generally, our project is about varying sounds that come from hitting metals with another object. Say when you were young, you ran a stick along a fence, hearing the stick continuing to hit the metal of whatever fence you were hitting. Or even the original inspiration of playing cards mounted to bikes, hitting the spokes and making a similar sound one would expect from a motorized bike. We were trying to achieve a similar type of sound, except much more controlled, as quite frankly, people aren't too interested anymore on strapping playing cards onto bikes.
Even if you're not an audiophile, or someone who likes to drive without music, you would still know about what music is in general. It sounds put together to make a harmony, something that is generally pleasing. While music listening may be something that may annoy you, seeing that all teens listen to rocking out with their earbuds, it does much more than you may initially think, from either winding you down or pumping you up, from making you feel great about yourself or about the world around you, enlightenment, or maybe something that you enjoy. Music is an art form practiced for generations, years and years on end, and in general something that's quite worldwide. Even if you cannot speak another language, the language of music is quite universal, and even general consensus of "that sounds good" is a way to share something that people enjoy. The top 40 crap to classical 1400 revolutions to dubstep, electronic, rock, etc., etc. One thing is for sure, music is something that connects us and brings us closer, and is something that many people couldn't do without.
You might still be wondering how music can be harmonious. Even though multiple notes can be played at once, it sounds like one thing, not multiple. You would have to think the laws that pertain to music and how it works in general. We explore these theories in multiple ways, from slinky labs that would represent how waves can form into one another, and the differences of sounds and speeds in different materials, to even listening to different notes to see what sounds generally better than other single notes. Regardless, sound is beautiful and it is something that we take for granted in everyday life. And I suppose that was what this project was really about, understanding music and being thankful for the gift we have.
The original plan was to have spokey dokies on a vertical bike wheel so that when it spins and they all hit the bottom, it creates different noises. But after a lot of discussion, we realized that we couldn't get a lot of notes and patterns out of this. So we decided that instead we would have the bike wheel placed horizontally and a pin hitting the spokes. If they're all tuned properly, you should be able to hear an audible difference and it resemble a record player.
This proved to have its own complications, since the swirl would have to move alongside the spokes in order to create a sound. Not to mention, a lot of people in our group aren't very specialized in the art of cutting with laser cutters. And so we would end up being more of a drag that would limit the work we could do. We stuck with this. After we moved on to our final idea, which is one of the things we have today. Basically, what is entitled was making an arm that would go over spinning wheels and would strike the spokes repeatedly in multiple places so that it could create different patterns and sounds. It would look sort of like a record player, where the arm is the one that really makes the music work.
If you pluck a string that's very tight, it's not going to be able to move as far before snapping back, and so you get smaller and quicker movements back and forth. The period that it takes to go from one side to the next is a lot shorter, and that makes a shorter wavelength in the air. And so we tune the spokes in different ways, making some of them tighter and some of them looser, so that you could hear the change in wavelength and frequency going up or down depending on which way the thing is going. The thing that we have plucking the strings is actually a toothbrush. And this is because we tried a couple of different things out. One of the main things that we tried was a nail. And this made it so that you could hear the sound of the nail just as much as you could hear the sound of the spokes, which is not what we wanted. We wanted something that would stimulate the the spokes without making a sound of its own. So we use a toothbrush because it's got a little rubber end that mutes its own sounds and its own vibrations so that you can just hear the sound of what it's striking, which is the spokes.
We wanted our piece to sound like music, for you to find something beautiful in bike spokes and nails, and really have this epiphany where you're hearing this and it just sounds like metal, and then all of a sudden you start to hear a scale or a piece of music, and that's really what we wanted our audience to have, and to know that music and sound is all around us, and just to start being aware of that.